Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is happy hour time where once a week we get together on Wednesday to hang out with an incredible woman from some area of the trades, generally automotive related or automotive adjacent. But this week, whether you are joining us live or whether you're going to be watching this afterwards, this will live on my IGTV along with all of the rest of the happy hours we've been doing. But this week we are joined by an incredible woman who is going to be joining us all the way from Ireland. She is a pipe welder, which if anybody is familiar or knows welding or the various different jobs within welding knows that pipe welding is not an easy job. She is a serious badass. I'm super excited to meet her and to hear more about her story and to share that with you guys. And so hopefully she'll be joining in soon here. I am looking to see if she's joined in yet. I'm so glad that you were able to finally join and that I get to kind of meet you. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just telling everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do, but obviously I know very little other than you had a past life in event planning, right? Event management.
Mhm.
How how did you get here from there? How did you get from event planning and event organizing to being a pipe welder?
Um, yeah, it's funny, I'm still to this day not even really sure of the answer to that. I like when I was like leaving school, I wanted to do a trade. Like I always remember when I was a little kid, when you think back on the things that you liked, I just like making stuff.
Yeah,
I like sort of having like some raw materials and then having a finished thing. That was kind of
totally.
very satisfying for me. So yeah, I thought about a trade, but I wasn't quite sure, and I thought maybe like, do I want to make furniture or something? And if you're not sure and you're a woman, you kind of get pushed down the go to college
Yeah.
route. So that's what I did. Like I had put on a few gigs and stuff, so it was like, oh, like maybe this would be cool. So yeah, I wound up doing that for like my whole 20s, and basically then I moved. I was living in Dublin at the time. I moved from there up to like a really rural part of Ireland.
Okay.
But even like working remotely, there wasn't any work around. Just at that point, I found it really tough. And for some reason, I decided like there was a great welding course up the road, and like I had literally never welded. I never really thought about welding, but um, somehow I just asked them about enrollment and I went in and I just loved it. The rest is history.
That's awesome. So just
Yeah.
kind of totally random and then fell in love.
Yeah, completely. So yeah, that was like a basic welding course. So you do like MIG, TIG, stick on that, like kind of flat and vertical positions.
Okay.
And then they do like an intermediate, and I went from that onto there's like an intensive coated pipe
Okay.
course, and so I became a pipe welder.
Amazing. And of all the things that you could do in welding, why did you wind up going towards pipe welding? I don't hear that often from people in general, let alone from women. So
Yeah, I guess I was kind of lucky in that the courses. So I learned in the south of Ireland. So we've got Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, and the south of Ireland, which is like a republic. So we're in the northwest of Ireland, but I learned in technically the south of Ireland, right? And they don't have a welding apprenticeship.
oh,
What they have is the education and training boards. So I went to Donegal ETB,
okay.
and they do those three courses that I mentioned. So I think because I like did really well on the basic, then I was like, well, okay, you're good. Like you should progress. You should keep yourself in that, and I
Hang
did
on
it.
1 second. Oh,
So then I did
I
just
lost you for a
with
second there. I'm so sorry.
okay, I'm back. Yeah.
Got you back. That was on my end, not your end.
Yeah.
Technical
Cool.
difficulties. But we're back.
Um, okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess that they had the coated pipe course on offer, and I was doing well in there, and I really enjoyed it. I was passionate about it, so it seemed like a natural progression.
Yeah.
When you see like those pipe clamps set up in the corner of each booth, you're like, I want a piece of that. So I guess that's how it happened.
That's very cool. So you talk about apprenticeship. So I'm very unfamiliar with how the trades work in Ireland, either north or south. I know in a lot of places, Canada, and I think a lot of areas of the UK and Australia, I believe there's like you go through school and then you get into an apprenticeship, and it's a very like professional program and it's a career path. Is that the same sort of thing? Are trades kind of more formalized and respectable career paths in that sense?
Yeah, they are. I think it's the same as like in the States and in a lot of places that, most trades have an apprenticeship, and even here in Northern Ireland. So I'm now in Northern Ireland, and like the say like the big engineering workshops
Mhm.
here, pretty much all the apprentices there would be going through that program,
Okay.
and there is a welding apprenticeship here, so there's a lot of people on that. Um, so mine was a little bit different, but yeah, it is. It's pretty much the same as like
Interesting.
the States and that. And I think the trades have the same kind of stigmas attached to them. That it's somehow like less than going to college or something.
Yeah.
So there's still the same work to be done here to kind of challenge that.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, how universal that seems to be, right? And the US doesn't have any apprenticeship programs. Like we have no certifications. We do there you can get welding certifications, but there's not a ton of formalized any sort of like order or laid out career path for people who want to go into the trades. It's very much looked on as kind of, I feel like looked down upon. And I always
Mhm.
kind of in my mind hoped that the countries that have more formalized apprenticeship programs that would like elevate the status a little bit. But I don't know, the more I talk to people, the more I hear that it's kind of universal that we have a massive trade deficit and the trades are still looked on really poorly and women aren't super welcome in the trades. And it's sad to me that it's so universal.
Mhm.
It's horrible. So how was it for you as a woman in Ireland going into the trade, going into welding? Is there the same stigma for women?
Yeah, I'd say there is. I think it's like a lot of the stories that you would have experienced and heard from other women, Bogey, like and experienced yourself, I'm sure. It's really a mixed bag. Like you do have a lot of people on your side, and a lot of people just see, that they're excited for you, and they want to see the mold broken. And then there are some people that have attitudes that, I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are
Yeah,
or anything. It's like they have a narrative running in their head, and that's what that is. Um, so yeah, it really is a mixed bag. I think um, in like the last 6 months or maybe a year, I've made more of a concerted effort to get in touch with other tradeswomen and like reach out, and so it's great to be doing things like this. And it just like it staggers me how many similarities there are just in our stories.
totally.
Um, it's really sad, some of it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just hope that like through like the programs that you run and through just like social media and us kind of supporting each other and reaching out, that things will get better slowly.
I hope so. I feel, there's days when I feel super hopeful, and then there's days when I don't. And I'm sure we can all kind of relate to that. But I feel like there's a lot of reasons why I don't like social media, but I love social media for the fact that we can see each other and we can know that we exist. And when I was coming up in the industry, like I didn't know anybody else like me. I never saw anybody else like me, and I thought I was crazy and weird and different. And so now, at least with social media, there's the visibility, and I think that's so important. Like just being visible, just being present, like we're all collectively making a difference. And I hope I hope the next generation is a really we see a lot more change happening because I think it's getting more normalized for girls to do this stuff and for it to be okay. So I'm hopeful.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
So I have a technical question, kind of technical. How long did it take you from learning how to weld to have such perfect welds? Because
Oh,
I
Funky.
suck at welding.
I don't believe that for a second. I just don't. No, no, you
Oh
don't.
my goodness. I can stick metal together, but make it pretty. Mm-mm. No, and definitely not TIG. I like what you do is magical to me, and I'm so curious how long it takes to get to that point.
It okay, for a start, there's nothing special about me. Like s- I took it up. I sucked at it. It was so bad, I was shit. And I sat in my little booth for months on end, full time. I just sat there and I did it over and over and over until I didn't suck at it. Like that's it. Um, it really is practice. There is so much heartache, and like definitely when you're at the point where you're starting it and you can't do it, it just seems so like just impossible. It's like how can anyone do this?
Right.
Like how? I remember with the like feeding the rod, I just couldn't do it. So I would just snip a rod in half and I would just hold it just back here, and just sort of the other end would be waggling around in front like this. But it was all I could do, until I had like control of like my torch hand. But yeah, it's just practice, which unfortunately, I mean, there are great like tips and tricks videos. There's like
Sure.
loads of YouTube stuff and all that. Watch like welding tips and tricks and weld.com, all
Yeah.
those ones. But yeah, you gotta you have to let yourself be a beginner. That's so important. Like plenty of people I've talked to, they'll be like, "Oh, like I tried welding once and it's like so hard. So like you're amazing." It's like, no, of course it is. It is hard. It's like
Right.
it's doing a technical thing that you haven't built any muscle memory for. So you just have to sit there and like cry and suck for a really long time, and then you'll be grand.
That's awesome. Yes. Be okay with sucking for a little while. 100%. Awesome. So you've been doing pipe welding, and you said you mentioned you've been independent contracting, kind of working for yourself. How does that work?
So, a lot of the big like engineering companies here would use subcontractors. So
Okay.
you go in on a self-employed basis and then you like invoice them
Gotcha.
every fortnight or whatever it is.
Okay.
And actually I quite like it. I mean, in a way when you're working for a big engineering company like that, it's not like proper self-employment that you like take all the holidays you want and stuff. They'd still be really on your case.
Yeah.
But actually I do quite like it now. I think it's even just a psychological thing of like I'm the boss sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. At least you have a little bit of security knowing that there's plenty of work there, and then also the independence of knowing that you're in charge at the end of the day of how much work you
Yeah,
take on and all the rest of it. That's awesome.
yeah.
Very cool.
Although the one thing is like I really suck at maths, so I'm just like whatever I do, I just need to make enough to hire an accountant to do my taxes at the end because like I'm not dealing with that.
Oh my God, that's like the worst part of being in business for yourself is the bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I hate that part. Uh, but you are getting ready to kind of change gears at this point, right? You've got a new adventure you're just starting. What's going on?
Yeah, so I just got keys to a little lockup just around the corner from where I'm living here. And yeah, I wanna because I went straight down this pipe welding route. I wanna get into a bit of fabrication, and I'm gonna make some things that will be super fun and will really challenge me and teach me an awful lot. because so the thing with, I guess the route that I went down is that um okay, sometimes like you'll be working with a pipe fitter and getting things measured up and all that, but there's very little actual like cutting and prepping and all that from my end. Usually like that's done and
Okay.
stuff gets wheeled over to me and I just weld it.
Okay.
So I feel like a bit of a one trick pony. Um, so yeah, I mean, I haven't really been employed really in any like fabrication type setup
Yeah.
before. So yeah, it's a little lockup. It's about the size of a two-car garage.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm super excited. It's totally empty there now, but I'm gonna get my stuff brought in
Nice.
and get to work.
That
Yeah,
is
so I'm really
super
excited.
exciting.
Mhm. I mean, it's scary too because like I say, I don't have much of a head for maths and stuff. I was sitting thinking about things that I might make. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking I'm gonna make a fire pit, and like I want these kind of angles in it, and then I was like, oh my God, I remember being 15 and like learning trigonometry in maths class and being like, when the fuck am I ever? This is pointless. Like, this isn't real life. And now, like, 20 years later, I'm like, Jesus Christ, 15-year-old Laura, you should have been listening. So I think I'm going to have to get some maths
Oh
refreshers
my
and
gosh. I
go.
feel you so much on that. I was never big into math. When I was really young, I was kind of into it, and then I lost the interest as I got older, but and suck at it now. But um, building the Volvo, we've had to use so much more math than I have ever used in building anything. As a mechanic, I didn't use a ton of it. I fix stuff, right? But
Mhm.
fabrication and building something from nothing, you're using math all the time, and I'm like, oh my God, why? Why did I not pay attention?
It's crazy, isn't it? Because even you're leaving allowances for things to move, and you're leaving gaps, and there's the thickness of material to factor in and stuff. It's like, can't someone else do it?
Right. Well, you're going from one extreme to the other. You've been just doing the welding and have everything locked up and taken care of for you, and now you're going to the other extreme of all of it. You're going to do all of it, which is exciting and terrifying all at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think uh, you have to do things that scare you and that make you grow. And yeah, this is the time, and I'll be grand. Like there'll be lots of hair pulling and tears and snots, and then I'll be fine. I'll have, you know, I'll make crappy things to start with, and then they'll gradually get better, and then it'll be fine.
I love
I
it.
hope.
And then isn't that just about how everything in life goes, right? It's terrifying, you'll suck at it, and then it'll be great.
Yeah, that's it.
So are you going to keep doing the pipe welding as well and filling in the gaps with that, or are you like jumping full in on this and just going for it?
That's how I'm feeling right now. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think over the next couple of months, I'd like to just get in there and really get my teeth into it. On the other hand, like I'm getting about a call a week about like there's a big site down near Dublin, that's hiring and like the money's good and all that. So you know there might be days where I go like, oh, I don't know how to fabricate. I'm going to Dublin to weld pipes, but I don't know. I mean, for now, I think I'd like to do my little passion project.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. And it's nice, no matter what, to know that you have something you can fall back on and can go pick up some extra money if you want to, need to. Like, it's always there. I think that's like, I think that's the coolest part about the trades is that we nobody can take that away from us, right? Like it never goes away. You always can use your hands to make and build something, whatever that is. And no matter how far you stray from that, you'll always have that skill set.
You're completely right, Bo. Yeah, I mean, I know that whenever I was an event manager, like I worked really hard and I was good at my job because I made damn sure I was. Um, but I always had, I guess, like imposter syndrome of feeling like I kind of wasn't worthy of being there, and like I'm a fraud, or just all this kind of negative self-talk. And stuff that occurred to me quite often was like, oh, but most of what I do is like I'm just like loading a van full of stuff, or I'm just like building a stage, or I'm just going to 3 meetings, or I'm making 10 phone calls. And anybody could do any of those things. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing specialized in that knowledge. Um, and yeah, I mean, I could talk a lot about that. That's sort of bull as well, because like every job has a certain level of skill to it. But I know that since I've become a welder, there are definitely moments, it strikes me, you'll be like, like walking through the supermarket or something, you'll kind of go, God, like pretty much nobody here can like do what I do. Like, and that really, I feel so good about that, like that I really do have like specialized skills now, and that's just given me so much confidence in myself. It's
Yeah.
really, really nice. And yeah, with the employment thing. Like I was never headhunted when I was in office jobs and events, never, ever, ever. And like it was always like a matter of applying for jobs. And now it's like, don't apply for jobs. Like people phone me, and it's just the best feeling, that like your work is in demand. I mean, with welding, I guess there does tend to be a fair bit of moving around. We are little nomads, like, but I mean, that's fine. It's still, there's work. Like if you need it, it's there.
Yeah.
And that feels really good to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish more people knew about that, right? Like how
Mm.
much potential and security and just how much of an amazing career path is in the trades. And I think most people just they don't realize, they don't see that there's this opportunity to make really good money and have that job security and be in high demand. And it's like the best kept secret, right? That we shouldn't have. It shouldn't be a secret.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't get that at all. It does feel like, yeah, I do feel kind of pissed off realizing that at this old age,
You are not old. How did the people in your life react when you decided to pursue this path and go down this completely different road of welding and trades work?
I was pretty lucky. Yeah, like my family and friends were pretty supportive. Um,
Were they
yeah,
surprised?
yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, I was always I guess a wee bit of yeah, just a little bit different, So maybe it wasn't that surprising, but it's a big departure from what I was doing. But from my immediate friends and family, I didn't get a whole lot of kickback,
That's
which
awesome.
was great. Yeah, it's funny. I wonder. My mom passed away in 2013, and so I was still in event management then. And I think not long after that is when like I moved across the country, and then like really started examining what I was doing. And I think it's like she had died quite suddenly too.
I'm sorry.
And it takes sometimes like a big crisis like that to suddenly make you go like, what am I doing, and
Yeah.
really examine your own happiness and all that stuff, so I do wonder what she would have thought, because like my mom was so cool. She was super kind of creative and arty, and yeah, she mattered a lot to the people in Derry here where I grew up, like she changed a lot of people's lives, and that's really cool. But I know whenever it came to me, like a lot of mammies are, it was very, just you kind of you tread the straight and narrow. My mates are
Interesting.
coming in with like mohawks and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I love your hair." But if I came in with a mohawk, it would be like, "Sweet Jesus, we girl,"
Oh, how funny.
So I do wonder, um, had I said, I've changed my mind. I'm going to be a welder. Like, I think we would have butted heads quite a lot on that. But I think now at this point, when she saw kind of what I've done and how much better I feel in myself and how happy I am just doing that, like, I think she would get it at this point, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure eventually. And perhaps she is somewhere still thinking that and feeling that and seeing you and being proud of you. I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks.
It's true though, and it's sad that it often does take trauma or major crisis for us to reassess and to look at ourselves and to say, I'm not happy. How do I,
Mm.
what do I do to make myself happy? Like, how do I go about changing things? And it's scary, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage to say, I don't like what I'm doing. I'm going to go take a totally different path and go on this crazy adventure, and I have no idea how it's going to go. And a lot of people don't ever take that plunge. So huge amount of acknowledgement to you for even doing that and for being so amazingly successful at it. It's no small feat.
Thanks, Bogey. I bet you've come across a lot of women who make it a career change, have you?
Yeah, surprisingly, there's like it seems like there's two paths, right? It's like either they grew up with it, it was in the family, it was natural for them to get into it, and then there's the other extreme of I was a doctor, I was a lawyer, I was going to school for culinary or to be a makeup artist, and then detour. So it is
Mm.
very interesting how women kind of get into doing this work
Mm.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I was one of them too, right? I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and then
Mm.
working with my hands because I was the same as you as a kid. I loved. I was a puzzle girl, and I was a crochet girl. Like I loved. I'm still a crochet girl. Who am I kidding? But it's the same satisfaction for me. It's taking something that's nothing and turning it into something, right? It's this pile of yarn, and now
Mm.
it's a blanket, or it's this pile of metal, and now it's a car. Like it's all
Mm.
that same sense of satisfaction of I used my hands and my brain and my creativity to make something out of nothing. So
Mm.
it's not surprising to me per se that I got into this work and that I'm loving building cars, but it was not at all what anybody expected of me when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But yeah, it's an interesting thing.
It is. Yeah. And on the turning something into nothing, I definitely get it with pipes. You know, like at the start of the day, there's a big cart full of all these things, and then at the end of it, they're getting wheeled out and stuck on a lorry, and stuck up in the rafters of some building or whatever. And that's awesome. Um, but there's something a little bit impersonal about just pipe work too, because it's
Mm.
going to be behind like cladding or something like
Yeah.
that, and or buried under the ground. But I was thinking about you today. I was going, God, I bet like you know your cars, like you see them driving about, or like the owners, and you see like them posted online and stuff, and that's gotta feel amazing.
It's a totally different thing, and I didn't think about it. It's interesting you say that about you're building stuff that is mostly not ever seen, right? And that's an interesting thing that I hadn't really thought about. And when I first started learning how to weld, I noticed myself looking at everything differently. I would go to restaurants and I'm like, how's that made? How's that made? Look at those welds. Like really
Mm,
dissecting stuff. And I didn't think about all the stuff that you don't see and how that must feel to see
mm,
all this beautiful work because you're making art in this stuff that never gets seen. So
mm.
interesting.
Yeah, I have I have got that line before. Like, Jesus, Laura, that's going to be in the ground in 14 hours. Like, leave it alone.
Are you a bit of a perfectionist?
you know, well, it's like, it does feel like making art, and you just want it to be nice because then you know.
Right. Even if nobody else ever sees it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Interesting. So what's like some of the craziest stuff that you've worked on?
Um,
I see you like, I mean, there's pictures of you climbing inside massive pipes, and then there's stuff you do in smaller stuff. Like, what is that all about?
Yeah. A lot of the photos from my Instagram over the last like year would have been for it's this big site that I mentioned in Dublin. Intel have a
Okay.
huge big plant down there. So
Okay.
the workshop I was in recently, they were building stuff for down there.
Okay.
So I think that was all Intel work. Some of it actually was for DuPont,
Okay.
and so it's like what was it? You know, like paper suits, you
Uh-huh.
know, like those like dust kind of
Oh yeah,
suit
yeah, yeah.
things. Yeah. So it's the material that the like paper suits are made from.
Okay.
And it has to go through pipes like super high temperature.
Okay.
So they have to be like jacketed, so they're kind of double walled, and it's all like 100% X-ray. So it has to be completely
Oh,
perfect. So I was doing a wee bit of that too. Um,
wow.
yeah, yeah, different stuff. I don't think I've done anything super mad though. Like sometimes you have to make mad angles, and so you'll be, sometimes they'll have pipes that like have to make crazy bends and they have to be fabricated in the shop. So in order to get a level put on them, they have to be like lowered down to the floor or lifted away up in the crane, and then bits hang down or shoot up, and
Oh
so
wow.
you wind up like like up ladders sort of bending off to the side, or like lying on your back and trying to stick your head under things, and
Yeah.
so funny things like that. um yeah,
Yeah.
I remember my instructors in the training center being like, "Oh, you have it so good, sitting there welding at your benches." Like where do you get out in the real world? And it is like you're scrabbling about in the dust on the ground, just
Right.
like, oh.
Like I've seen some of the welding ladies who come in to work on the build. I see them, performing these weird yoga tricks where they're, controlling their pedal with their elbow while they try to upside down do stuff. And then I look at your pictures and you're inside pipes, you're upside down, you're laying in weird contraptions that are holding your head up while you weld upside down. Like it's it's pretty crazy. It seems like you're doing part acrobatics as well as welding.
Yeah, sometimes you have to like use mirrors and stuff. Like you might be like I've been on sites where like there'll have to be a revision. So the architects have changed it or whatever, and part will have to get ripped out and then redone, but it's already like this close to the ceiling. So like you wind up like up on a scaffold with your face. You seen like the monkey masks?
Uh-huh.
Um, the they're just the little goggles
Yeah.
instead, because you can't even fit a helmet in. So you're like this, like with your head, and then like I would have like a compact mirror, for like powder in my
Yeah.
nose, and you'd be like holding that up and just trying to
Nice.
get in however you can, and yeah, so yeah, a few hairy situations like
Right.
that.
I love that you're using a compact mirror.
Yeah, that's it. And then like,
Hey, we do what we got to do, right? That's awesome. I'm seeing all of these comments coming through. I'm not sure if you're seeing them, but like how many people are just singing your praises of how you're one of the best welders they've ever seen, how much they respect you.
oh, thanks,
It's been
Andy.
a ton of really great compliments coming through. So you definitely have earned respect within the industry.
Thank you guys so much.
I'm excited to see what you're going to make in your new business now. Are you willing to share like your goals and plans with it, or we just got to stay tuned and watch?
Yeah, like yeah, totally. Like I haven't um I'm a bit apprehensive because I haven't actually done anything yet, and it's like you don't want to jinx yourself.
Yeah.
Um but no, like I've no bones about it. Like I'm new to this. I'm just starting out on this new wee journey that I'm super excited about, and I'm gonna make lots of dumb mistakes as I go along. But yeah, I'm just gonna have some fun. I think I want to start out making some fire pits because they're just cool. And also, just talking to a lot of people here, they couldn't get them last summer,
Oh,
because it's all the COVID thing that the lockdown here has like been like fairly full on, and even still like bars and restaurants are completely closed still at the minute. Um, and like it's all social distancing, and it's only essential retail, which is basically supermarkets open.
oh wow.
So like yeah, yes, and it feels like it's been like such a long time
It
that
has
it's been
been.
like that.
It has been, but
Yeah,
that's a hardcore lockdown. That's way more than we're doing in the States. But
yeah.
how has that
So
been for you?
um, it's been it's been kind of Groundhog Day a lot, like I would love to go for a pint and all those things. I would love to like see people, like go see my friends. I would love to just get out of town for a while and like go visit some places and stuff. But you know what? Like it's fine. It's coming back, and lots of people have it a lot worse. I have had it
Yeah.
pretty easy in fairness. Um, but yeah, I've noticed like a lot of people are doing up their gardens and they're just making something of whatever little outdoor space that they have.
Yeah.
Um, and when I started putting that idea to people just that I'm talking to, they're kind of like, oh yeah, because I was trying to get one and they were trying to get one, and so yeah, just like just nice heavy duty ones, like 5 mil plate, ones that are gonna last. And I like quite nice kind of simple designs, like I really like mid-century modern style like
Nice.
designs. So
Awesome.
like everything looks better on hairpin legs and lancet legs. It just does like everything. so um so yeah, I think I'd like to start with something like that.
Nice.
So
Well, sign me up.
so
I'll buy one.
awesome.
I need a
It'll be
fire pit.
terribly expensive, but
I,
I'm worth every penny.
yeah, the shipping's gonna be a bitch, but totally worth it though. Totally worth it.
I'll hook you up.
Nice. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. Um, I guess one of the biggest things I would ask is, somebody who's looking to go into doing either aspect of what you're doing, whether it's the pipe welding or getting into fabrication or taking the leap and becoming your own boss and starting a new adventure like this for the second time, right? You started a new adventure becoming a welder, you're starting another new adventure now. Um,
Yeah.
what what do you say to other people who are looking to do that sort of thing?
Um, I would definitely say that you have to have a very honest conversation with yourself,
Mm,
especially for women thinking about it, um, and be really truthful with yourself about what you want. And when you figure that out, or if you have a well-formed notion that that's what you want, then you really need to stick to that path and commit to it, because, like, unfortunately, a lot of people won't support it or just won't believe in you, and there's just a lot of kind of BS that goes along with it. Like, um, I'm sure you find this, Bogey, that you you have to, or you're expected to explain your position like on an almost daily basis. Like if I have to answer one more time, so why are you a welder? Like it's and don't get me wrong, like there's a way that that's asked that it's just like how did you get here, or arrive at this point. But very often it's like, woman, justify yourself, that kind of way.
yes, or the
um,
disbelief, right? Are you really a welder? Right? I get, are you really a
yeah,
mechanic all the time? Like, do you actually know what you're doing? No.
yeah,
Nope, I've got no clue.
yeah. Or you get that one very often. So is it like art stuff? You're like, no, it's big fuck off pipes. you know, as if like, well, if it's art, then you can't really do it. It's not It's not real. Um, so yeah, so sorry, advice for somebody thinking about it. Um, you need to stick to your guns, because we get told very often that we just don't know our own mind. So if you do, or you feel that you do, then you gotta be fair to yourself and pursue it.
Yeah.
And if someone's thinking about a career change, it doesn't mean that you need to, like mine was pretty extreme in that, I was completely unemployed and then I took up like a full-time course. Um, like talk to a welder that you know or a fabricator or like go see it done. A lot of the supermarkets, like they do them for like 100 quid, like little cheap ass ones, like pick one up and try it every Saturday afternoon, and you're gonna suck to start with, but you'll get better. Find some way to explore it. But yeah, if you have the urge, just absolutely don't ignore it. You gotta pursue it.
That's awesome. I think that's so so important what you said at the beginning about that really hard conversation you have to have with yourself, because it is like being honest with yourself and just deciding, right? Like it's not just kind of picking a whim and going after it. It is going in
Mhm.
wide, eyes wide open, knowing what you're getting into, knowing what the challenges are going to be, and knowing none of that scares me enough to make me not want to do it. And
Mm.
then that's when you know it's the right thing to pursue, right? When the challenges don't scare you and you're like, yeah, no, let's do it. Let's go, right?
Mm.
But there are challenges and there will be challenges, and to pretend that there won't be is just sets us up for failure, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Like even um, taking out my lease on this wee shop, I know already from the experience that I've had that there are going to be awful, awful moments where I'm going, what am I doing? I have no clue. And I know that that's going to be just part of it. And I just need to settle down and get on with it. Just keep trying, keep sucking at it for a while, and just keep going. Um, yeah, getting past that bit is like easier said than done.
Totally.
Especially like when you're in a welding college or whatever for a set period, and you have to just come back in the next day. There's probably a wee bit more. Um, there's an external force pushing you to do it,
Right, there's
and
accountability there.
exactly that's it. And I realized like when it's me making myself go to my shop every day and go, but sure, who knows? Maybe it'll all just go smoothly.
Well, it will go, and it'll be, you're right, there'll be ups and downs, and you'll get through it if it's the right thing, right?
Mhm.
Um how so I'm curious because yes, in school we have accountability, we have somebody holding us to it. With jobs, we have somebody holding us to it. But in those moments, what is it that you did, or what was your way of coping when you didn't want to get up in the morning and go back and do it again, and it was hard and it sucked and you felt awful? Like, how did you keep going? What was it?
I guess I find whenever you get into that sort of flow state with welding, there's like nothing else like it. It's just magical. So the things that would make me not want to be there would be all the external nonsense, if there's some sexist crap or those like little daily annoyances that are sometimes part of a tradeswoman's life.
Right.
Um, but I definitely find like having a relationship with that little molten pool of metal, um, that would always kind of bring me back. And yeah, like just having that, just your shield down, bit Iron Maiden blaring in your ears. It's 20 minutes to tea break, and you've just got this like sweet, sweet bead just melting in front of you. Um, I think that there's enough there in that little magic to kind of keep me going, you know.
I love it.
The payoff is so good with that.
So I have faith the same thing will be true in your workshop. And that same magic will be what keeps you going. I think it's so cool. Welding is something that it's not the skill and it's not the path that I went down, although I'm loving learning it. But every welder that I speak to, they speak of it in this same way that you are, like this magical Zen thing where it's you and this puddle, and like it's really interesting to me to hear that, and to see the passion that comes out of that and just the pure joy and love of it. I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's something to it when you're in the right frame of mind. It is like a spiritual thing almost, where like you can nearly talk to that weld pool in your head. I'm going really weird and metaphysical here. I do apologize,
No,
but
please,
like
please.
that you nearly have this unspoken conversation with this weld pool, and on good days it'll just do what you're asking it to do in your head, you know, and it just dances for you, and it's bloody brilliant. There's
That's
no
awesome.
feeling like it, you know.
That's awesome. Fixing cars is not the same way. Yeah, no, fixing cars, there's a lot of cursing involved. It's not nearly so zen or magical or metaphysical.
But I bet it's magic, like when, you know, like it was like a pile of parts, and then the
Yes,
next thing you turn the key and it's like rolling out of your shop and humming
yes.
beautifully and shining in the sun.
It's magical when it's done. During the
Yeah.
process, a little bit different. Whereas for welding, it seems like the process is the magic.
Mm.
And it's just a different perspective.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like, do you have a favorite part? Like a favorite part of the car to work on, or like is it the electrics, or is it, you know?
That's a good question. I think because I'm a glutton for punishment, I like the problems. I really enjoy the thing that nobody else can fix, and digging into it and beating my head against the wall and feeling like an idiot and just starting at square one and going back to basics, and that feeling of, all right, I have no idea what is wrong with this thing, but I am going to win. And it's an interesting thing because it is very much the process isn't the part that I love. It's the success at the end when you've untangled the mess and figure it out. So it doesn't, I think then that's probably more common with electrical problems. So maybe that's the case. But I don't
Mm.
know. I just like fixing things in general. And I'm discovering the love of fabrication and metal work, and wishing I'd been exposed to it when I was younger, because I honestly probably would have wound up going down that path, because there is something amazing about it. Bending metal, welding metal, shaping metal, making it do what you want it to do is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And like, how do like the teenagers that you teach take to that?
Yeah,
Like, I'd love to see somebody having their first experience with it.
it's pretty magical. Have you done any teaching at all?
No, I mean, you know, quite often there would be like brand new apprentices just in the door that I
Yeah.
would like say hi to and give some pointers to, but like not strictly, no.
It is probably the thing that I love the most. I'm not an expert. I'm an expert at fixing cars, but I'm not an expert at metal fabrication or welding or paint and body or any of that stuff. But I know enough to teach someone who knows nothing. And
Mm.
there is nothing like that moment when they get something, or when they do something that they think they couldn't do. And sometimes it's the tiniest of things, because I work with a lot of ladies who have never done anything, and they're terrified of a grinder. And then
Mm.
2 weeks later they're using it like a pro and they're like, look at me, look what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
And it's so empowering for them and for me, and it's a pretty magical thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It just like you teaching those kids, it just matters so much. It matters that like teenage girls are, and just like women of all ages
Yeah.
and different people are being exposed to this and realizing that they are completely capable. Like I remember at the training center I was at, I was given a demonstration. They have like a virtual reality welder,
Okay, yeah, I've seen those.
and
They're cool.
yeah, they really are. They're super intuitive. It's crazy. But we had this school group in, and it was strange because it was like maybe like 20, 25 kids, but um, there was only like four boys
Okay.
in the group, and it was all girls, the
Oh,
rest of them.
wow. Interesting.
Yeah, but we were in this kind of smallish enough classroom, and everyone was standing. And I was giving a demonstration, and then, I was asking for volunteers. And like every girl was kind of clutching herself and trying to look small and press herself against the back walls. And so like a lad gets up, like really sure of himself, and he gets up and he runs a bead, and it's shite like because he's never done it before, but he's so like, that's grand, like that's a great job, and sits back down dead pleased with himself.
Right.
And then so it's like another volunteer, and of course another boy gets up, same thing again, like he's super sure of himself. And so my instructor was like, well, come on, one of the girls, and he knew like one of their, like nobody was doing it, but he knew one of the girls' fathers, so he was like, come on, whatever her name, the girl's name was. And reluctantly, this poor girl, she gets up, and so she started going, and like I coached her through it. I tried to coach all three of them through it, but the two lads were sort of having none of
Weren't
it.
listening, yeah.
Yeah, and in fairness, this girl, like, she listened to me, and like she was doing like a T-fillet weld, and it's this long, but like the last couple of inches of it were pretty bang on, because it's like, okay, slow down now, raise your elbow a wee bit, keep that angle, there you go. And um it made me really, really sad, Boogie, because like of a group of like 20, 25 kids, just numbers wise, there were gonna be a few good welders in there, and chances are a lot of them are never gonna try it because we're so conditioned that, like, I don't know what this is about, and I'll be rubbish at it, and this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And it really brought me down. And I think that experience made me realize that it's important that we're visible,
Yeah.
and that teenage girls in particular get like hands-on opportunities to try things where they can.
Yeah.
Like it's all well and good saying, you can be anything that you want to be, but if you actually like put a torch in their hands, or like put a tool in their hands, and then they do a thing that is evidence,
Yeah.
like that is completely transformative. So that's why, like, what you're doing is just so, so important.
I appreciate that, and you are absolutely correct. And it is transfer. Even if they don't become welders, just knowing and experiencing that this thing that they thought that scared them wasn't so scary, and that they could do it and they could accomplish it, it changes everything else in their lives. And that was my experience when I was getting into cars, because I thought cars were scary and I didn't understand them, and they were different, and nobody wanted me to do it. But then when I did it, and it wasn't that hard after all, it was like, oh, like a whole new world opened up, and other things weren't scary to me. And it's a magical thing. And I think you're right. It's a very sad thing when you see that happen in a room where the girls fall to the back and the boys come to the front, and it's seeing that that's still happening in our world today. People ask me all the time why I do girls only programs. And it's not because I don't like teaching guys or that I don't like working with guys. Like, I love guys. Guys are great. But it's for that exact reason. Like the girls will naturally fall to the back and not step up and to create a space where they're able to and where they feel comfortable to and are all right with messing up or looking silly or all of the rest of the things that teenage girls stop themselves from doing because of fear, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is super important. Well, with your new workshop, you can teach classes now too.
Yeah. Maybe when I get a toilet installed.
That might help.
I don't even have a toilet. I have to like sort of have excellent bladder control and then run home. It's like I think I can sprint it in about 2.5 minutes. So
That's amazing. Yeah, toilet might be a helpful addition before you start teaching classes. It's probably a
yeah,
wise decision.
yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. Uh, so we are 1 minute before we're supposed to be wrapping this up. So I would love to talk to you a whole lot more. I hope we continue to talk offline in the future. And I thank you so, so very much for joining in and hanging out with me for a little while and sharing your story with everybody. And everybody who's watching and going to see this later when this is on IGTV, make sure you go check her pages out. The links will be down in the description. So make sure you check her pages out, give her some love, show her some support, and stay tuned for all of her new products that she will be offering. And make sure you support her. So thank you for everybody who joined in. And thank you, Laura, for hanging out with me.
Bogey, cheers. You're an absolute legend. Thank you so much.
You as well.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll teach you this. In Irish, it's sláinte.
So long.